In the game of life, the bold are guided by two unapologetic groups: the unmuters who speak their truth, and the rebels who live life on their own terms. These are their stories. We are live. Welcome to episode 5 of Unmute with Priya. Well, no, it's called the Unmuted podcast. I keep changing the name. I'll figure it out soon. And today I am so excited. I have the one and only Leo here. Leo, how old are you now? Rude to ask, but there's
No,
backstory.
I'm still young enough. When you have I'm 26.
Oh my gosh. So I have known you since you were 5 years old.
Yep,
2 decades. 2 decades. So before I have you introduce yourself, I wanted to share how I even know you. I am a speech therapist. That is my former lifetime. I still kind of do it a little bit. But when I first started working in Harlem, it was probably around 2005, and PS 92, right? Is it East Harlem?
West Harlem.
West Harlem? Okay. And then there's this kid, Lionel, who was on my caseload. And that's where our relationship started. So you were 5 at the time, kindergarten 5. And that's how we met. And then here we are today, and you're 26. And, there's not too many children that I saw at that school that I've kept in touch with. You and I and your sister and your mom, we've always stayed in touch. And don't tell anybody, but you were my favorite. Not supposed to have favorites, but you were like my favorite. And I probably have some of your art somewhere.
Yeah, I was that cute. I know.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us more about you. Introduce yourself.
About me? Okay, well, Leo, born and raised in Harlem. Met you at PS 92. And from my perspective, I just remember you trying to teach me my R's or or like trying to teach me pronunciation of letters. Also remember you helping me like whenever like I had some emotional episodes, you were the one people called like get Priya over here to help. So yeah, I am deeply grateful for your influence and presence during that tumultuous period when I was transitioning into more normal classes, quote unquote normal classes. And yeah, we'll get more in our talk about my background, but just the overview high level that after PS92, I had went to Catholic school, all the way, yeah,
I don't think I know that.
all the way to like high school senior. So then from there, while I was in school, I realized that I love to write, and writing was one of the best ways I unmuted myself because it was just me and my words. Um, so I've always been a lover of books and literature and television and anything art related. So when I went to school at Williams, I devoted myself fully to arts, and devoted myself also to social justice. I learned more about my identity, learned more about my racial identity, my queer identity, and that really gave me a solid foundation to help me to fully like use my voice to unmute rather than just the words, my written word, I should say. And yeah, I graduated in 2020, so that was a weird year to graduate.
Yeah.
On my like the graduation was on my birthday, so
where is Williams? I know that you've told me.
It's in Western Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah, so middle of nowhere, Massachusetts. So I was an adjustment coming from a city to not even like rural. It's not even suburban. It's like rural mountain area. Um, and then yeah, so I graduated. I was home for a bit, and then I took the leap of faith to move down here to move with my partner that I had known, and still together. It's been 4 years now.
Wait,
Um,
wait, wait.
Thank
There.
you. Um, so yeah, I came down here, done nonprofit work and development specifically, and yeah, now I'm still working on a nonprofit, still writing, and me and John adopted a new dog. Her
Oh,
name is Lou, 10 months old, but she's big, so just like me, I'm kind of away
yeah.
when I was a kid. Yeah, so I mean, that's a good background for now. I
That's
guess.
amazing. Oh my gosh, I feel like a proud mom, um, hearing all of that, especially because I was there with you from the beginning. So I mean, you saw me when I started doing this whole thing about unmuting, and so that message resonates with you, right? I mean, just about being muted and
Yeah,
unmuting. Yeah, yeah. And
yeah, I
I would
remember. Mhm.
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I know. I just remember in the letter you had written to me that you remember just me being so frustrated that I couldn't communicate, and that was a big issue of why I had got into so many um, crying sessions or tantrum sessions. Was because like I was just so emotionally overwhelmed, but the words couldn't come to me. And I just started to like physically like, right.
When
And
I
people,
when I got to that school, I mean, I think this is what I wrote in the letter. When I got to that school, they warned me about you. They were like, "Oh, you've got Lionel Martinez. He throws tables." And then first time I had you, and I'm like, "This kid is, I mean, is such a softie. I love this kid." And yeah, I mean, it was really those times you wanted to say something. And I mean, I've worked with so many different children, but you are vivid as if it's yesterday. It's like the memory is so there that you would just, and you would do that. And then it would just be this breakdown because you didn't have the words. Um, and that
hmm,
wasn't the most supportive environment for anybody to be able to communicate either. So it's like,
right.
you know, so kudos to you for unmuting. I'm so proud of you.
It is. I'm still unmuting.
Ah,
I still have that 5-year old in me who just wants to shut down, and because the words fail to convey like the full breadth of what I'm feeling. I mean, it's hard even in my older age to like recognize like my emotions. Like I had been in therapy, in mental health therapy for maybe since middle school, because with hormones and still struggling to unmute myself, it was like
yeah,
I was internalizing all this. I don't want to say negative emotions because they were, but just a lot of turbulent emotions. They were just being like it was like a cycle, a torment in me. So yeah, my mom had the foresight to place me in a talk therapy so I can like at least talk to someone who I can really like bare my soul to. And it wasn't until like I would say I've been in therapy for almost 10 years, and I would say it was until like halfway in that journey that I finally was able to speak. Like when I was in session, like I was just like, oh, they'd be like, how your day? How are you feeling? And I'm just like, oh no. There was one time I remember with my first therapist, we just sat there in silence for like maybe 20 minutes because I couldn't talk about what was going on with me. Um,
were you scared?
so
Or was it, did you just feel like you were blocked that you didn't even know how to speak up?
Yeah, like it. I never. I had rare opportunities to really talk about like what was going on in my head, all the good, all the bad, you know. So that block was just so like it was like in my throat. That's that's what I immediately think. Like I think of like this blockage in my throat that just spread down to my chest.
Yeah.
That like the words were stuck, and um, so then I remember that we had to like play games together. Me and my first therapist had to play
In
games together.
therapy? Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just like, I don't know what to talk about, but the games were helping me to take off to help me get my mind off of like being so on this. I don't feel like it's on the spot, you know,
Yeah.
like when you're like given the mic, you're like, oh, I freeze up, and so yeah, that's so yeah, it wasn't until like I had more tools later on in my therapy journey that I was like, oh, I can talk about things going on and not feel shame about it or
Yeah.
not feel like they're not going to understand it, you know?
When I remember even back in kindergarten, I mean, I saw you from about, so I was at that school until 2009, so I probably saw you until fourth grade, fifth grade, um, and your way of just expressing yourself was through art. You had the most amazing pictures, and if we had a project where we were writing a story, or I said you guys are going to write a book, you were the one who was so excited about it because it was your way of unmuting. I mean, I didn't even know what muted, unmuted meant until recently, but it's just, I saw that in you back then. Is like, wow. And saw that you weren't scary. I had nothing to be scared about, you know? And people just had to learn how to interact with you. And you were, it was okay that you were different. Like,
Right.
you know, and I think that that's a big message too. It's like, I think the different people are often the underdogs, and I've always been the ones who will protect the underdogs. So, and I always felt like I had to protect you. Like, I don't know.
Hmm.
There was just this mama bear, and I was young. I mean, if we're talking 20
Yeah.
something years ago, I was young. I mean,
Like
out,
you had like, I think like you had shorter hair too,
yeah.
like almost a bob.
Yeah. I mean, so unaware, so not like in my body, so detached from who I am, and but yet I still had mama bearness that I was like, I got to protect this kid, and he's got something to say, and I saw you doing it, and even up
Yeah.
until I think moving out here to New Mexico, I mean, I still got like I made a trip home and I got to see you, um, and your moms, and I saw that like little by little you were like coming into yourself. So, you had mentioned something about just coming to terms with your cultural identity, and
Mhm.
sorry if I'm not using the words correctly, being queer. Tell me more about those two.
And those are very and that those are two concepts that people try to separate, like, oh, this is your cultural racial identity and this is your queerness, but like this is me. I exist in both of them, like Audre Lorde said, like there's no way to separate my pieces of myself just to accommodate for other people. So yeah, like whenever I walked in a room, I have to recognize that I am, and it took me years to be accepting of this, but that I am, um, that I am black, that I am Dominican, that I am non-binary, and that I like to express my gender in a more feminine way. Um, and I think that was a big part of why I was muted, or like that shame was a big part of why I was muted.
How far back
Cause
can you remember that you knew? Can you do you feel like this goes back way back, or you weren't even aware?
I wasn't even aware, because I felt like I was very impressionable, and
Mm.
from other people, and they were just telling me like, "Oh, you're a boy." I'm like, "Oh, you're Dominican, so this is how you're supposed to act." And I was so confused because I was like, I'm not meeting those expectations because that's how I knew I was different when I wasn't quote unquote meeting those expectations placed on a kid. But I wasn't. There's nothing unique about that. Like kids
Yeah.
coming from immigrant households, they have this expectations to fulfill from centuries of oppression. I know you. Yeah.
Amen to that. Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, so I'm not even like saying like, oh, it's my mom's fault or my dad's fault. I'm like, this like happened like before them.
These are ancestral
Um,
chains. They go way.
exactly, like
Yeah.
epigenetics, all of that. Um, so yeah, it wasn't even until I passed 18 that I was like, oh, that like I started to study more and I started to talk to people who were on the same journey as me. That I was like, oh, I'm not alone. But also like I've held so much pain about who I am, like about me wanting to wear dresses or me celebrating my blackness. Like I did it, I even like it was interesting because at college I could be my true self, but then I went back home to New York. When I went back to my old bedroom, like I'm still back in that mindset that I'm still a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it even took after I graduated from college to like be like, okay, I can bring my full self home. And
And what happened when you did that? Did oh, you just took an exhale. There's a story to that.
um, I would say that it was some conflict, but um, I would say with my sister, she was more neutral. I would say. Um, about my queerness or me wanting to be talk more about my our black heritage. But my mom, she had come from older generation, and even now saying this, I'm trying to give her grace because
Mhm.
her values were, she grew up on the island, Dominican Republic, and that is a different lifestyle that I never experienced being there during a dictatorship. So uh, I would say that she had some adjustments getting used to it because she said she birthed a son. You know, I mean, she was more upset about me wanting to express my gender a different way because like I said, she said she birthed a son that, or at least a manly son,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and I was not that. Even when I was younger, I was like, I can't be like that. Um, so that was how that went back at home. So I think that's part of the reason why I came down to Atlanta, so I could at least have more peace,
Yeah.
a peace of mind
Yeah.
of not having to look behind my back, so to speak. I can start fresh here, um, be who I am here. Um, but that was also difficult coming here because when I first came to ATL, like I was very um even now like well, it's hard to unmute
Yeah.
these feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, I was very um I would say that I fell into a depression episode, um, just because there was so much change that has happened in me
Yeah.
that that it took a lot of it took at least 2 3 years of just processing all that I've learned, all the um, ideals that I had to smash in order to like be my authentic self. Um, all of the internalized homophobia, queerphobia, racism that I had to just break free from. Um, and so I do am very grateful for the books I've read. Shout out to authors and writers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Audre Lorde, James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, like those are my Octavia Butler, like those are my GOAT writers. They showed me like I can be who I am and not have to compromise. And even though it's a fight, even if it could be like I'm fighting myself to, to be more active using my voice, that there's still people who want to listen to it. There are people who want to understand me.
Have you found a community or supportive people around where you are now that you can be yourself and you're accepted for being you?
Yeah, I would say I am a naturally shy person, and it took a little long. It took some time to have a community here. Um, I met friends through John. I had a friend here from college, um, but I wasn't. I was just staying home mostly, or just deciding just being my space because that was my safe space.
Yeah.
But I I was still not happy. I was still not happy or not experiencing joy like I wanted to, and so it required me to be outside, be in the streets, go see people,
Yeah.
go express myself, go wear what I want. Trying on makeup for the first time, very fun. Um, Being in a short dress, very fun.
Good. Wow.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
resonate with what you said about like coming to terms with the changes that are happening within you, and then it's like I feel like I was in this depression because it didn't catch up to this version of me now. It was just all the change happening and it was so disruptive that I was like, oh my god, my life is over. But meanwhile, it was the start because I just needed time to integrate it all. Um,
Right, because
yeah,
people just think. I mean, because I've been in, like I said, I've been in therapy for a while, so there's just the stereotype that healing it just happens when you accept yourself, and then that's it. Like but then there is that other middle part where you gotta the pieces are fitting together, but it's not like fully set in. Like it's not like hardened. It's still soft. It's still very
yeah,
flexible.
yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
So this is a question that I wanted to ask you before. As far as being, you mentioned being non-binary. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So I've recognized that recognize that first people who have been non-binary or been gender fluid for ages. That's the thing. No need to debate that this is a new thing.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, but the term non-binary is newish, I guess. So it means to me that I even though that my sex is male, that I was born with an M on my birth certificate, that is inconsequential to what my spirit is. Like I love my feminine spirit. It's like the closest thing I feel like to God. Um, and I also appreciate my masculinity, but my masculinity is not the thing that define. It's not the forefront thing. It's not the thing that people I want to be defined as because people read me as male, and if I don't care, if I'm seeing them for the first, if I'm, they're strangers, I don't really care that much because it does require a lot of emotional energy to like explain. Oh, hey, by the way, my pronouns are they, them, and she, her, and people are just kind of taking it back sometimes. They're like, oh, okay, but then sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. So there's a lot of grace I'm also trying to have with people who it's new to them. It's like sometimes, like at work, I'm one of the few people who is not who one of the few people who are gender fluid. Um, so it does take a lot of, and I don't want to be like the spokesperson for people for or like the token. There we go. That's the word.
Mhm.
I don't want to be token like, oh, we have this is someone who's non-binary. Like my identity, my life, my spirit is so much more than just pronouns, and more than just what I wear. It's like my aura.
You've got more. You've had more to you. Like there's so much depth to you that it's like beyond words. It's an energy, and you have to experience it, even on video, and even on when we talk on
Right.
the phone. And like that's why we're still in touch. And I mean,
I'm an experience. I forget
you're
who
an
said that.
experience. Yeah,
I'm not just, yeah.
yeah.
So I guess to make a long story short, being non-binary is a freedom concept. It's freedom for me. It's freedom for a lot of people. Um, and I am very protective of it too, because there are people who are going to disregard it, even if they love me or they don't know me. I know there's a lot of laws and trying to be passed against
Mhm.
bathrooms, stuff like that. Well, actually, this is a great moment to talk about that. That I was in the airport and I went. My mind went to the women's bathroom,
Mhm.
and um, there was this lovely old lady. He said, "Hey, you shouldn't go in here." But I need to use the bathroom because I was on the plane for hours, and I was like, I just need to go.
Yeah.
Uh, but then she called security um, right before I was able to, relieve myself. So, and I think this was Virginia actually. So they had a security get me out, and I just had to. No, actually, this was in Atlanta Airport, Herschel Jackson. I remember now. Um,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and I think ever since that day, I have to be more conscious of like where I use the bathroom because
Have you been places where you can use the women's bathroom and they don't give an issue? They don't give a
I mean
shit.
usually it's usually empty. I mean I don't know, like I get at the airport it's busy, but like usually like I walk in like no one's there, so that's kind
Ah,
of the
that's just like
loophole.
the fact that they called security. That just yeah.
Yeah, and my rage is very present. It was very enraging. Like I had to like leave because I was just like I can't be here anymore. And also I'm trying to give that woman grace because I think in her mindset she was fearful for her life, which I'm laughing about it now because it's ridiculous to me. But I guess I'm trying to give her grace. So like she was scared and and she was being reactionary.
I
No
love
one else
how
was
much grace you offer to everyone. I'm going to take some of that. I mean, I think that that's a clear message that I'm getting from you is like, but when you don't offer grace, it just keeps you in this stuck place of like anger and resentment. But when you
right.
say, you know what? You just don't have that life experience, and you're exactly what you said. You are reacting based on your life experiences, and you just hope that this experience with you in the bathroom is going to open her up in another situation where she's going to come in contact with it again and not be so reactionary. So I feel like that is you've said it at least 4 times during our talk today, is just offering grace, offering grace, offering grace. And
It's
I feel
so
like it could be
hard.
your own program, like Learn How to Offer Grace by Leo.
It's so hard, Priya. Like I I smile about it because that's how my rage is. My rage is not like violent, I guess. It's more humorous. It's like, is this what's really going on right now? And I have to laugh
Mhm.
about it. Um, because I like to say that I want to use my rage for creation, not destruction.
Ah,
Um, you know,
yes.
yeah,
You can,
and
rage can be productive.
I want to give space for the rage that is destruction because that is also necessary.
Yeah.
But who I am is just never put well with my spirit. You know, I think from what you saw when I was 5 year old, that anger was so present in me, but it was so out of shape because I couldn't express the anger in the way that I wanted to. And it wasn't until recently that I had the revelation that I'm like, oh, I am angry. For the longest time, I never thought of myself as an angry person because I saw so many examples of people who are angry, like
Hmm.
red, red hot face, yelling, want to fight. That wasn't me. That wasn't my anger. So
Yeah.
and
I mean, and
so
that was, I mean, just how we met in that school, there was a lot of rage and there was a lot of anger and there was a lot of screaming. And for somebody who's so closed inside, you and then I mean, I would call them your speech partners because I feel like we had the same group
yeah,
that I'd pick you up, and it was the same group, and we all had this bond. But there was one thing that I think that everybody had in common was this fear against that oppression that we were experiencing in
mm,
that school. I mean, there was some serious oppression, and for children who are having a hard time communicating and have speech delays, like how is oppression going to help that? How is anger and how is rage and how is um, what I perceive as violence going to help that, you know? And so
right.
Um, yeah, I mean, so, but I feel like one thing that you're saying so many nuggets. I call them nuggets of gold because you're saying so many amazing things. Like this is epigenetics. This is going back. This is not just back to when you were 5. This is going back ancestral lines across all cultures. Like, and but having these conversations is breaking them.
No, like literally when my mom had told me that she had felt ignored because she had so many siblings that, her grandmother, her mother, my grandmother, she couldn't really give her attention. So I remember, I hope she's okay telling me the story, but this one time my mom pretended to be sick to get attention from my grandmother, and then she actually got sick, and then she took that as a sign that like that she was doing like this is a punishment because she wanted attention. But to me, I was like, no, you just need attention. You just wanted to be appreciated, held, cared for in the ways that you were.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I try my best to say like you're just a kid. You're just in your mind like when you're sick, this is where you get the most care. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Offering grace. That might be the title of this podcast. Learn about grace. I mean,
Oh, I mean, hey, there is, and I would say that there is great that grace can be detrimental because
mm,
when during my therapy sessions, I I had difficulty explaining. I always had to couch my anger in grace, and not just let the anger just be like, like something I'm angry about, but like, oh, they're doing this or they're doing that, and but then the behaviors that were harmful, and this is not just about my mom, but like friends, for example, like I was giving them grace, but their the relationship I was having with them was very harmful, and it was still continuing, and I wasn't putting an end to it or putting up boundaries. So grace with boundaries. So that's the nugget for me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, oh my gosh, I feel like maybe we were going through similar journeys all this time that we weren't talking.
That's why we're always in contact.
Yes, like, but my pendulum would swing. And so then when I would offer too much grace, it brought me back into situations that were just not good for me. And then it would just, I had repeated my own cycle. And so it's like,
Yes.
for me, I see it as a pendulum swinging, and how to not have it swing either direction, but just kind of stay in your truth and boundaries, and allow that.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, I'm so glad that I'm not alone in this because in this hyper individualistic world, like it's based on how productive you are, or like how many friends you have or how much money you have. But then on the margins is where me and my people are, because I'm like I want to care more about. I'm trying to do more radical self care, more sacred rage. You know, that's where I that's where I'm trying to be around. And I had a lot of survivor's guilt also about like my position being here in the US when there are so many active genocides going on, and a lot of exploitation going on, um, that yeah, I think I'm like the guilt was making me feel like ashamed for living here in the US.
yeah.
Because yeah, because I'm just like I'm here, my tax dollars are being used to buy weapons or that this phone that I have is based on hours of just child labor, stuff like that. And that's when I have to actually extend my grace, not just to my circle, my family, but also to to humankind.
Yeah.
Because I mean, not and no grace to the abusers or to people who, the billionaires who are actively doing all the harm. But yeah, like my I want my writing, my fiction to like speak directly to the people who felt marginalized and people who felt oppressed, because that's who I want to speak to in my work.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I feel like we can keep talking.
Yeah,
Just keep on talking and talking and talking. But this is more, I just wanted everybody to meet you and just really hear about your inspiring journey of muting, being muted, and just how that you're actively, and I think all of us are actively in this process of unmuting. I think it's a lifelong journey, and what it is just coming into the truth of who you are. Like, and then as Melissa said on the last episode, standing in your power. Standing in your power just means knowing who you are. It's not
exactly.
any kind of sign of oppression, or how people hear power and they automatically assign it to. No, it's about being you. Um, and offering that to the world. I feel like I'm so excited and so happy that you are offering yourself as you authentically are in this moment to the world. Like it's really, I mean,
It's taking decades. Well, I mean, I was just young, but it's taken decades to be like I can now stand up on this stage, stand in my power, not feel guilt, not feel shame. and just do my best.
I
Because
mean, you're
no
26 and you're here. If I told you what I was doing when I was 26, that's like I was not here. I mean, I literally found myself maybe last year. um, Luckily, my mind created a world where, like, and situations that were going to force me into figuring out who I am. So, yeah, you're way ahead of me, but we're here.
time isn't linear. The
No,
healing isn't linear. I'm I feel like I'm still like, yeah, I'm saying all these great inspirational things, or I feel like I have an inspirational journey, but my day to day life, I'm just surviving and doing my best to take care of myself and doing my best to have joy and pay my bills. You know,
it's life. It's life. We're doing our best. We're doing the. A friend of mine and I. That's kind of how we all always end our conversation, especially when we're trying to offer grace to other people or situations. Is that person or us. We're doing the best that we can in any given moment, given what we're at. Given what we have. That's it. We're doing the
yeah,
best that we can.
I say this ironically, but like just like our vice president said, you and this is something I wish she didn't say it because it's so good. But she said you exist in the context of all that which you live and that you came from. And I was like, wow, that's I mean
That's
her mom
deep.
said that to her. Um but I was like, yeah, like the context I'm living in, the multiple layers of my context shows up in one body. The multiple context of you shows up in your body and your and and that's a lot. That's like people have taken years just to write books of their point of view, and it's still not enough to them,
Mm-hmm.
or they still feel it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I mean. That's why I'm making art to like at least have something that I say when people looking back in my life. I'm like, oh, this is what they were about.
Yeah.
There's there's silence. Saint Audre again that me being silent, people are still gonna hurt me. So if I speak up, people hurt me. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, yeah. Sorry.
So
I mean,
you just be you, authentically you, and that's the best that you can do for yourself. What a
exactly.
what a way to end this. I feel like this is amazing. I feel like I just had a therapy session with you. This
I
is
feel really
amazing.
nervous being here to be transparent because this is my first time actually speaking with you more candidly. And it's very very mask off. Like
Hmm.
just take off all the facade and all the timidness and just be like, this is me.
Yeah.
This is yeah.
And I just see you. I mean, I don't see it's you and you see me. And it's like I'm Priya, you're Leo, and that's it. And there's no Priya the speech therapist, Leo the this, or
I
there's no
know.
after. It's just we are seeing each other. And so it's amazing.
Yeah, to me, to me, you'll always be Miss Priya, but my speech therapist, and also, you are Priya. That's it. This all of who you are.
You may call me Miss Priya. That's okay. If that makes
Yeah. Okay. Well, my mom still says it, so
yeah. I mean, when I call it Miss Priya, so I'm like, all right, I'll take it. It's all right.
yeah, it's a sign of that. It's a for me, it's a sign of honor that you've had such an influence in my life that I feel like you deserve so much. That even saying your name with a handle on it, I want to respect you. I want to give you all your flowers.
Oh my God, thank you. You're gonna make me cry on this.
I know. I want to cry. I don't know. I like you were one of the like. You are like on my Mount Rushmore of women who
Oh my
help
God.
to like be myself, you know.
Wow. On that note, I would love,
On that note,
on that note, what a way to, yeah, I would love to have you back. I feel like you have so much to offer, and we'll continue to talk and
yeah.
and figure out where we're going next with this. But thank you for coming on the show with me today. I'm so excited to get this out and for people to get to know you, and learn more about you, and know that they're not alone, because I
Yeah.
know that they're going to hear you and be like, oh my gosh, Leo's speaking directly to me. So thank you for coming on here and being you.
No, thank you for offering me the space to just to be me, because you know, I still exist how I am, but there's not a lot of spaces where I could just be my full self.
Yeah.
So this has been life changing. And catch up with me after I gone through some changes, maybe through my 30s. I don't know.
Every decade that goes by it gets better. So when I was around 26, I had friends that were close to 50, and I was in this trauma state and just bad relationships and crying and like couldn't see the big picture. And you know, they were around my age now, because I'm 49, and they were like, "Wait till you get to this age. You're gonna just you gotta love yourself, and it's gonna get better." And I'm like, "But I'm never gonna get there." And then
I know.
I hit 30, and I was like, "Whoa." 30 is cool. And then I hit 40, and I was like, oh my God, 40 is even better. And now I'm going to hit 50, and it just is like, yeah, just keeps getting better, just because you get rid of the bullshit, the noise. And that's it.
That's it. I'm gonna keep that with me. I'm excited to be a queer older. Um, for the youth, for the Gen Alpha coming up and the generation before them.
Yeah.
um, and thank you for being, yeah, like I know it might be, I don't know if it's weird to say this, but like a maternal figure for me too. Um, it's just you, yeah, like you showed me like what like a person could be, like a good moral person could look like, you know.
Oh my God. Oh, all right. We got to end this because you're going to make me cry. I got to get
I know I'm gonna cry.
off. Well, I'm gonna stop recording, and then maybe you and I can have a little cry together. But thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much.